Ladies and gentlemen, this is Gail Morgan welcoming you to the Libertarian Counterpoint's Knuckleheads of Liberty podcast. You've heard their point, now listen to the counterpoint.
Welcome to the Knuckleheads of Liberty podcast. We are coming at you on December 28th, 2021. This is actually officially our last show of the year, so just a little hodgepodge to finish out the year. But before we get into any of the issues, let me introduce you to our panel. In our upper left-hand corner, we have Leon the Word Brathwaite, last word in Liberty. He is a retired engineer in the state of California. In our upper right-hand corner, we have our screaming eagle of freedom, Tim Everett. He is a pilot in the state of California. And I'll be your, my name is Jason McPhee, and I'll be your host today. So let's jump right into some of these, sort of end of the year stories. And, it seems like masks, boy, it's one of those things that just won't go away. We had masks put upon us at the beginning of this whole COVID thing back in 2020. The experts at that point were telling us, don't wear masks and, they're not going to do any good for you. And that was Fauci, Lord Fauci himself was saying that. And then he admitted he lied to us and said that, no, you need to wear masks. And we just didn't want you to use up all the masks of the that we wanted for the healthcare workers. And then he went on to say, well, maybe you should be wearing 2 or 3 masks. And now we've almost come full circle to where CNN's health expert, which, talk about, is this fake news or real news? I don't know, but I'll let you guys decide. But she came out and she apparently said, maybe I can get the visual up on this. She came out and she said that cloth masks are little more than facial decorations. So that's CNN. So I don't know which you would prefer to disbelieve, Fauci or CNN. They both have lousy track records. At this point, your guess is as good as mine on what to listen to. But there we have it. Yeah. Well, you guys got any thoughts on our esteemed central planning experts that want to tell us about the science here on masks?
I just want to refer to Fauci as Lord Fauci, patron saint of science. I think that's a good description for him.
He is the science.
Yeah, he is science.
Because criticizing Fauci is criticizing science, according to him.
That's right.
So Lord Fauci, the patron saint of science, should be fired. I wish he would go away. We should never hear from this diabolical man ever again. He's involved in so many things. He was lying to us, funding experiments in that lab in China where the virus came from. All of these things this man have done. He have changed his story multiple times about what should or should not be. And this whole issue about masks, even this thing that they are forcing our kids to suffer, that they have to wear these masks, these little kids who don't spread the virus, they are suffering because of this damn nonsense. God, please help us to get away from these people, these central planners who are just promoting and producing the most amounts of misery you could ever find on planet Earth. Maybe that's an exaggeration, but I'm not far.
Yeah, God's a little busy to be helping us. I mean, he kind of relies on us to have a little bit of common sense. And therefore, he may not want to go help us right now. Just kind of might want to just sit back and kind of watch can you blame God for wanting to have a little entertainment now and again? I mean, this has got to be the best in a long, long time.
Well, since we brought God into this,
yes.
Talk about the false religion of man, the false idol of the man. I mean, my goodness. And I can't even imagine, too, these health experts sitting here telling us that the all-important mask that we have it, or, it's we're just not going to be allowed in polite society, I guess, if we don't have it. But it's like the mask is only literally if it's doing its job, if it is even doing its job, it's only protecting what comes in and out of your mouth and your nose. You still got your eyes. And I mean, good God, if you have, any kind of person who's ever going to be around exposure, they've got eye protection too, because that's also, there's a mucous membrane going on there as well. So, I mean, this business of this worship of the mask is just beyond, it's just beyond the pale. Gosh.
Go ahead, Tim. Go ahead.
Omicron resides in the bronchia, and which is up higher and closer to your mouth. So that's why it's more contagious. It's just being breathed out and then obviously back in more easily. So obviously you have to up. What did they say? Up your mask game. So yeah, okay. If it's a more contagious virus, then well, what's the solution? Well, better mask. Don't you know, dumb morons?
But these leftists always tell us they are guided by science. Okay, fine. The Omicron is clearly more contagious. There's no doubt about that. But it's not killing anybody. What's the point of all this damn nonsense? Yeah. Nobody's dying from it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's correct. Because again, it resides in the bronchia and doesn't go deep into the lungs like mine did, and fill the alveoli up with fluid and prevent you from breathing. So, it's located. It's doing what viruses have a tendency to do, and that is to become more common and more contagious and less deadly, because the last thing a virus wants to do is kill the patient. They don't want to kill the host because that kills them. So yeah, it's going along the standard path. So meanwhile, we'll wear even better masks and shut down the entire economy because we're getting a less dangerous virus. Didn't want to steal your thunder, Leon.
That's right.
Well, it's funny. Aside from masks, it's interesting to see Biden apparently is very much in the Christmas spirit now. And as we go into this next story, he's so much in the Christmas spirit, he wants to give. Apparently, if you're a felon. So, I mean, for the rest of us, he seems to be taking away. But, if you're a felon, he wants to give. And if we can get the visual on this one. So apparently the Biden administration, they let out a lot of prisoners during the COVID crisis, and now they're deciding to just let the prisoners stay out. So, it really begs the question, was there a reason for them to be there in the first place? I mean, if there was, shouldn't they still be there? And if there wasn't, if these were all victimless crimes, then more power to them. Yeah. But then let's just get rid of those laws in the first place. But if these people are potentially dangerous people who need to be there, why are we just letting them out and saying, don't bother to come back? I mean, one, we're saying, we have a safety risk, so we're going to let you out during COVID. Forget the safety risk you caused to the public, which is why you're here in the first place.
Exactly.
Yeah.
but now we're going to just say, hey, don't even bother coming back because, hey, I'm in the giving spirit here. So, even if you may not be, and you may be the ones actually taking away from other people this Christmas. You guys have any thoughts on that?
It's a problem that from the.
Uh-oh. You're cutting out, Leon. Maybe your Scream Eagle wants to jump in first.
Yeah, my only, like Jason said, if they're doing so well outside of prison, I can see why they don't want to necessarily have to put them back and burden the taxpayer with their upkeep. It begs the question. Maybe this person wasn't in there for rape or murder or robbery or any of that. But if they were, I mean, then they are dangerous. So I don't know. I don't know what these people did. There's no way I can tell 2,800 people. I know that the vast majority of people in prisons are there for victimless drug-related crimes. So I'll have to assume that most of them were in there for that, and not for the serious crimes. But anyway, if Leon's back online, let's see what he had to say.
I think I'm back. Am I back?
Yeah, you're back.
Okay. So what I was going to say is that this speaks to a larger problem, okay? And the larger problem is these people, these leftist people who are running our government and running our society, are doing nothing but injecting lawlessness into our society. Because look at the things that they do. They want to defund the police.
Yeah.
Okay? They have this so-called bail reform. Prosecutors are not prosecuting people. They are dropping charges like hot bread. And now we're gonna have home confinement, supposedly home confinement, for people who should be in prison. They are doing nothing but injecting lawlessness into our society. Okay. Now I don't know where this is gonna end, because this is doing nothing but creating chaos among us. Because instead of us being protected again from these people, apparently the government in many cases is protecting the criminals and allowing them to walk free and roam our society. And what we're having is more crime. And that is what is going on right now, is inch by inch, they are causing the crime wave that we are seeing right now, whether through bail reform, defunding the police, or this so-called home confinement, which I'm sure is not working. I'm sure these people are roaming the streets, committing crimes just as they were previously. So we got to be careful with all of these things, because all of these things is tied together in a nice little bundle called lawlessness. And that's what's happening to us here right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, it's it makes about as much sense as everything else Biden is doing nowadays. Wish we could get a little bit of coherency out of him. But one of the things I think I wanted to bring up too on our show, because it's about that time of the season when it's sort of that giving season, when a lot of people are deciding what donations to make now. But it's funny. I mean, why not make those donations in July or February or whenever? And, it's funny. I mean, a lot of decisions on this stuff get made near the end of the year, and it's because of the tax implications on these things. People are figuring out what they owe the government, and, maybe what they can, maybe in some cases what they can afford to give after the government's stuck its hand in their pockets. But in some cases, maybe it's so they can figure out how to maximize what they're not going to pay the government in terms of taxes too. And so, one of the things we do is we give, a significant amount of deductions to charities. So like if you're going to give to the charity, maybe you can deduct that money at the end of the year, or maybe the charity itself is able to also deduct some of its expenses as well. And it kind of begs the question, if you're a libertarian, I guess giving and prices and all that stuff, it's supposed to mean something. And the idea that the government is sort of distorting that, and the idea that, maybe it's more giving to certain charities than you might have otherwise given to, or other things like that. But I mean, these things, I think as a libertarian, you kind of hope that we'll make these as free-willed people and not sort of influenced by government on exactly what we're doing. And I guess the best solution would be government just reduces taxes overall on everything, and then let you give some of that money you were planning to have taken from you by the government, give some of that to charity. But anyways, what do you guys think of that? And I'll see if I can pull up the little story here too, if you want. So I don't know if you wanted to put that on screen.
Well, I'm sure the tax incentives does distort the spirit of giving, shall we say? Because I'm sure people do give, especially some of the high income people, do give because of the tax breaks that they do get as a result of the charitable contributions. But I think overall, most people give because that is their desire to give and to help fellow citizens. I mean, like, I will be walking out of a store, a grocery store, and I may see the Salvation Army, with their little red kettle out there, and I will usually drop something into the red kettle, and it have nothing to do with the tax codes. It does not incentivize me in any way, or in any way to give for that reason. And I don't think I'm unique in this respect. Even though this is Salvation Army and I have a little problem right now because of some of their damn nonsense, their woke garbage. But the point is, though, I do think there's some distortive effect, but I don't think it is widespread as maybe implied by the article that we read in preparation for this segment.
I just thought it was interesting the statistic they came up with regarding the propensity of higher income earners to utilize be more influenced by the tax deductibility than lower income taxpayers and charitable givers.
Sure.
I thought that was interesting. And I don't have any complaints about it. I think it's accurate. Seems to be, but yeah, it was just interesting stuff. I just thought it from an economic standpoint. I thought it was interesting, and I guess I think it's a good thing that people would just give regardless of their tax advantage, and there you have it.
Sure. But Jason, you imply that libertarians have a problem with the tax incentives in that.
Well, I think what I'm implying is that we generally want the decisions to be made in a free market, free of distortion. And the idea, and so that should include what you give as well as what you decide to pay for things in a store and everything else. And so just the idea that we may be having, I guess, a nudge. I mean, obviously, it's a nudge having the government's hand in our pocket, taking out a lot of our money anyways, whether that be, 30% for some people or whatever it is. But, so obviously that distorts what you feel like you can give to other people. But the idea, too, that it's saying that, hey, these certain businesses or whatever have been blessed such that you can give to them and then, put aside some of what we'd be taking out of your pocket, So it's kind of like, it seems like such a distorted game we're playing. That's all.
So what your concern really is the distorted effect of the tax of the tax incentives. That is what your concern is about. Yeah,
and maybe in taxation in general has a big distortive effect as well.
But
I mean, this idea that certain entities are distorted, for getting some gain. I mean, I remember the story once about, they said Donald Trump had a picture that he donated to some sort of charity that he had painted of himself, and then somehow that painting wound up in his office or something else. And I mean, you talk about a distortion. I mean, the idea that somehow you could be gaming all of this stuff to, it seems kind of silly, and it would be nice to see what the real, I guess, charitable giving is, of just people with that get the government out of it altogether and just let people give where they feel like giving, and stop playing games, I guess.
Fair enough.
Yeah. So, okay. Well, I think it's about time for Good Guys with Guns. Oh. So that's you, Tim.
Oh, yeah. All righty. Yeah, this I got to pull this up now because Anyway, this happened in Bolivar, Tennessee. Domino's. It was closed, and because police say an armed robber was shot and killed by a store employee, of all things. Bolivar, this is Bolivar, Tennessee. Police said two men tried to hold up the restaurant, and just before midnight, they said one of the robbers came through the back door of the business and pointed a gun at the employees, and one of the employees pulled out his own gun and opened fire. Now, this is at least the second time that somebody pulled a gun on the drop. That's what they call it, because they have the drop on you. The bad guy is pointing a gun at you. You whip your gun out and shoot them before they can shoot you. I mean, it's hard, very hard to do. Anyway, 28-year-old Jaquil Codarius Dubose was pronounced dead on the scene. The other robber was seen running from the scene. Didn't want to help his buddy out, obviously. Some of those in Bolivar who heard about the shooting said they were finding it hard to sympathize with the robber who was killed. Oh, shocking. Senny Patel owns a convenience store around the corner from Domino's. He said he wasn't open at the time, but heard about what happened from his customers. Don't worry about me because it happened near me. You never know. They told me to be careful. All right. Anyway, they don't know who the second robber is, but he should be considered armed and dangerous. So far, the Domino's employee has not been charged with anything, and they contacted the radio station or TV station, contacted Domino's to find out what their policy is regarding employees carrying weapons on the job, but have not heard back from the company. That shot the robber may get fired by Domino's. That's usually what they do. Oh,
What they
can't
do.
have you running around with a gun. Might shoot a robber or something. Anyway, there you have it.
I was really wondering about that very issue about what is Domino's policies about confronting burglars or robbers in your store. I mean, this guy went all the way. I mean, he actually shot the guy. But I wonder if Domino has any policy about what you should do when someone, God forbid, walks into your store and wants to rob the store. Should you just hand over the cash, or should you take some?
I think most of these companies recommend you just give them what they want, and most of the time, that's the best policy. I mean, you just they have insurance. It's no big deal. And so, who knows, though, when you're confronted by somebody with a weapon, you don't know what their intention is going to be. So you never know if they just want the money and you give it to them and they'll go, or if they want to pistol whip you and rape you and shoot you and, step all over you or what. You just don't know what they're going to do. So I don't know. I don't know what. If I was running Domino's, I'd probably have that. Well, this is what we want you to do policy-wise, is just give them the money. But at the same time, I wouldn't say you can't have a firearm if you're legal to carry it anyway. I mean, why not have it there in the store? Just probably don't brandish it in front of the customers. Carry it concealed where it belongs, so that if somebody does rob you, they don't know you have one until you pull it out and shoot them.
Sure.
Well, this certainly gives a new meaning to the old catchphrase they had: Domino's delivers. So,
Domino's delivers 9mm too.
You like a little hot lead with that?
This pizza is fine, but you can take it with hot lead.
Yeah. Well, I tell you what, let's say we wanted to have a few projections going into next year. So let's jump into our Knucklehead Noise Patrol. I think we can get through this one pretty quick. We have a short video, and it's really one of the best Knucklehead things we've heard all year. And it's from our biggest Knucklehead ever, Joe Biden. And just to set this up, this was a Christmas call he was taking at the White House with various people, I guess, that were on his list of people, sort of families to talk to humanize him, I guess. And essentially he was asking him about Christmas stuff. And one of the guys said something a little unexpected by the screeners in the call. So we'll play it and then I'll recap it for you real quick. Oh, darn it. It looks like we don't have audio on this one. Okay. Well, anyways, so Joe Biden was sitting there, and he just finished the conversation with this parent with their kids, and as he finished the conversation, he says to him, "Let's go, Brandon." And as you'll remember, we covered the "Let's go, Brandon." And essentially, that was something that at a NASCAR race where the media was trying to cover up for the way the public felt about Joe Biden. People were shouting in the background of this race and all kinds of other sporting events, "F Joe Biden." Okay, and they weren't just saying F; they were saying the full word. Just so you know.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
and the reporter and essentially all their journalistic whitewashing, I guess, of things that have become the norm nowadays, said, "Hey, they're saying 'Let's go, Brandon,' because that's the name of the driver she was interviewing." And of course, everybody knew they were saying F Joe Biden in the background. So that chant has gone around the country now in a lot of places that aren't thrilled with Joe Biden. And this guy said it on the air to Joe Biden, and Joe Biden said, "Yes, let's go, Brandon."
I agree.
I agree.
I agree.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So
yes.
I think we've determined that, among other things, Joe Biden doesn't even know when the joke is on him.
True,
Yes.
true. Yes. How did this man become president of the United States is beyond me. That's all. Really and truly, it's beyond me. It's totally beyond me.
You could actually see
landslide
the expression.
victory. Landslide. It's amazing.
Yes.
Everybody came out and voted for him.
81 million people, more than anybody ever did in the United States. Voted for anyone.
Well, you could actually see the expression on his wife's face change as she realized what was happening. So she's a lot more aware than he is what's going on in the country, which doesn't bode well for us. But that's takes care of our Knucklehead noise patrol. Clearly, we've got a Knucklehead in the White House. But what does that give you for the future? I mean, we're heading into 2022. And we've had a horrific 2020 and a horrific 2021, and maybe a few good signs coming up. Well, what are your guys' thoughts for the new year coming up?
Well, let me go first. My thought is twofold. Number one, I predict I will not get severe COVID in 2022. Okay, and I'll have a much better year because of that. Number one, and number two, I predict that Tulsi Gabbard will become more free market than she is in 2020.
I hope so. I'm completely behind her.
Indeed. Well, I think the big story in 2022 is the big non-story of 2021. Now, I know we make a lot of fun of Joe Biden on this show, and deservedly so. However, I think his cognitive decline will continue. It will become more obvious to everyone. And then we will be faced with the horrible choice of having to get rid of this man as president and having to worry and be horrified by the prospect of Kamala Harris becoming president. We will be facing that horrible decision sometime in 2022, I believe.
Ooh.
That is a real damper.
I got really depressed there. You don't think the Democrats will call upon Tulsi to step in, take over?
I tell you, Tim, you had me at Tulsi, and then you started talking Kamala.
I know. Oh, yeah. That's what is this indicative of? This whole thing that goes like this. What is that? That's very, very Freudian, if you ask me.
I was trying to give my excitement level there. Tulsi versus Kamala.
I know I know we're talking excitement here.
Well, this is about all of the excitement we can take for 2021. Thank you all so much for joining us. We've had a great year. And thanks everybody on the show. Thanks our invisible hand, James, and thanks you guys too for being here on the panel all year long. So any last thoughts real quick before we go?
Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness always.
Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.
Stay free.
Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.